Look, I've been engaged in the international trade union movement for some 38 years. And it's a long journey, and I've also been General Secretary for 30 of those years. So I've been in a top leadership position for half of my life, almost. The commitment to peace that we've had since Nagasaki, I mean, we were the first global union to go to Nagasaki, means that I'm trying to make this connection. There's three things together. Make the connection of our movement as a pillar of democracy, our movement as a pillar of human rights, our movement as a pillar of social justice, and that contributes to peace in the world. Now, I know we have these armed skirmishes and we have these wars that take place, but when wars take place, it's essentially, I think, because all the democratic controls that have been put in place have somehow been lost and workers' voice has been loosened. So I'm trying to think of, in my next life, of connecting peace, the labor movement, and use that as a springboard to get the message about that we are a fabric of democratic society. And if you weaken us and weaken our ability to do our jobs, then you open the door for the extremists, the right-wingers, the fascists, the haters, and the xenophobes. So I think I'll try to play a role in terms of this peace and the bridge building. After 38 years, there's 500 unions here. I think I know almost all the leaders personally and well. And at some time, I've managed to help them either with advice or on solidarity action. And it's just a basic human exchange of understanding their anxieties and the issues where they need help, and then having the time to listen to their concerns and then asking the question, how can we help? This kind of hate and xenophobia and victimization and demonization is a global phenomenon. And the first thing people have to do is to realize that this is happening, and that this so-called strong leadership or political leadership, these hard men that are making promises out there to working people which they will never fulfill in office. And therefore, what I wanted to do was to get a sense of the general awareness of the room about how global this is. Because in the past we would talk about trade union rights to organize, we would talk about the future of capitalism, but now we're talking about the future of our democracies. And when you look at the results of what we see, when you look at the reports of Amnesty and the Human Rights Council and even our own ITUC, all the warning signs are there everywhere of an organized, funded, global, right-wing push for power. And Trump is there. Now I ask people out there to think again. When you get these strong men leadership strong men and women leadership with this agenda, then look at the extent to which they betray people and betray working people. They will make promises to their people which they know they're not going to keep, and will produce communities and societies which they will begin to dislike themselves. So those Nordic values that you have, that agreement that you made all those years ago in the 1930s about what kind of societies you wanted to create, there's always room for political difference, but now the stakes are much, much higher. If these people get into power, then they will fundamentally change that sense of togetherness, that sense of we're in this together, that sense that you don't want to leave people behind. And therefore that's why here I wanted to sensitize people to this reality by being in their face about the hate and the xenophobia that we see. Now, therefore, the message to the left is, why can't we have a strong message on the left as well? And then why can't we elaborate our own strength of argument and place? And I think that there needs to be a reconnection with the world of work. And that's why this future of work theme gives another way of reconnecting the political world of labor with the realities that people face. That we can talk, as the Reverend William Barber said, about those who are rejected, about people who have fallen through, about people not earning enough. And you see all this labor market flexibility argument has done enormous damage to people's thinking that they no longer live in a society that cares for them. So I think the message for the left is that now you have to talk about inclusion, about including you, about understanding the world of work in terms of wages and conditions. It may not have seemed very fashionable to be talking in these terms, but with the digital wave coming in, with everyone worried about insecurity and power, the left must connect with the world of work again with a message and an agenda which appeals to working people. And then they can say, now they're talking to my concerns. And that's why I thought Jeremy Corbyn's statement here was very clear in terms of we must reconnect with those rejected stones, that we must connect once again with the real concerns of people about their kids, about their education, about the quality of healthcare, and about the labor market, and also take on this question of the refugee and migrant question. The reality in this global economy is we have 350 million migrant workers in this world, and we have a demographic issue with the shrinking population, and therefore the robots aren't going to compensate for this. So I think also this question has to be understood as even nation building, if you like, and making the nation capable and able to deal with the future demographic challenges that they face. But I think for the left, it's a good opportunity to reconnect with the problems of the world of work, and also understand that we're not going to be wiped out. What's happened here in the breaking through conversation that we have had, we have shown that unions around the world are growing in big numbers. The turnover means the net growth is somewhat less than we would like to see, because the workforce is not stable. But nevertheless, what is happening is you saw case after case after case of unions with new membership targets, that they are focused on organizing, focused on taking the message, and set the target of bringing in more young people and women as well. The Labour Party is unique in that it was a creation of trade unions. I mean, it's the 150th anniversary of the TUC. And in their first meeting in 1868 in Manchester, they actually elaborated a political agenda about the representation of the people. And they realized that even as a union movement, you have to influence the political scene. And they evolved from the trade union movement to set up a Labour Representation Committee, which became the Labour Party. So therefore, there's always been this link between the union movement and Labour. And that relationship today is still strong, it's still meaningful, it is effective, and I think what Jeremy Corbyn has kind of embraced is we have this trade union movement. I'm a former trade union official. I know the good things that unions do, and he knows that to get any sense of social justice in this country, then we have to give back the power and the ability of the trade union movement to organize and to negotiate in a sector sense. So I would say that the relationship that they have has stood the test of time. And if you look at the Labour Party manifesto, when it came to their labour market policies, it was really positive stuff. It showed, the labour movement has always had this sense, this fear, this anxiety that people aren't listening to us, that we make our policies, but they kind of get lost. And when Labour has the opportunity to be in power, they don't make a fundamental shift in the power relations in the labour market that will really make it, give the unions the ability and the opportunity to negotiate. And what we saw with the Corbyn manifesto was very clear commitments against 0 hours contracts, for industry-wide collective bargaining, for a living wage for young people and for older people. He also talked, as I might say, about having a ministry for peace He's very committed to the peace process, the peace movement, and he recognizes the role that trade unions play when it comes to peace. And therefore, he's also encouraging the trade union movement to also go back to its roots, because essentially, we are a peace movement. We are about social justice, it's about democracy, it's about improving people's conditions of life. And we say that, if there's no social justice, there is no peace. So if there's no strong union, there is no social justice, there is no peace. So this is a message that I've been pushing with, aggressively, and he does too, with the UK trade union movement. So I would say that Jeremy and his policies is something that many, many unions have wanted to see for a long time, and they feel with him that he understands the problems of people. He recognizes they're the 6th richest economy in the world, but how could it be that millions of British people relying on food banks, they don't have a proper home, the health system is in a mess, and he realizes that business needs to be responsible, but the business of government is the people and the majority of the people. And that's why he has such a rough time in the press, because he's trying to shift the tone of political conversation in the country. And he's talking directly to people and to families that kind of help is on the way. So get engaged and vote. And the engagements work because he's increased the membership of the Labour Party by 300,000 in just 18 months. They're the fastest growing Labour Social Democratic Party in Europe at the moment. And he's captured the imagination. He was being written off, but his performance in the election last year meant that the government didn't have a working majority. And I think when the British people have had a chance to listen to what he says, then it really does ring a bell. He's despised by the press, which is practically universally pro-Tory, but even so, he has the courage to continue with this message. And he believes in this, and I think therefore on the trade union side, with respect to Jeremy Corbyn, there's a recognition that he's talking about their issues and trying to build a situation where the unions can do their job in the best way that they can, which is by negotiating.